So hey, what's all this about Berger bullets and hunting? Aren't they match bullets? Guy Miner here from UltimateReloader.com. Hey, today we're going to take a good look at Berger bullets for hunting, the whys and why nots, how it all came about, and take a look at why I'm hunting with them this year. The controversial nature of this bullet never ceases to amaze me. People rant and rave about how awful they are. Other people rant and rave about how wonderful they are. And so let's take a look and see what the reality of that is. Things that I heard from the beginning, which in my case was nearly 20 years ago, I started using Berger bullets for some of my hunting, was you can't hunt with a match bullet. Okay, maybe. They're erratic. They're erratic on game. They don't perform the same every time. Interesting. Okay. They have for me, but we'll get into that. They don't penetrate, Guy. They're hollow points. They don't penetrate. They're not made to penetrate. Actually, they penetrate in a very interesting way, and I'd like to take a look at that and explain how it is that they do their job once they hit game. So it's interesting. Berger did not set out to build a hunting bullet. And I think that throws some people off because they know that there's other bullets out there on the market that were designed expressly as hunting bullets and very good hunting bullets from the get-go. They were a concept, they got drawn out, they got put into production, and they're well proven as hunting bullets. How the Berger, specifically the Berger VLD, because that's what they had at first as a hunting bullet, how that became a hunting bullet, it didn't come from Berger. All right, this was input that Berger got from hunters all over the country that were using them because they could, because they wanted an accurate bullet and they wanted to take a look at it and see if it would work for their hunting needs. And they were meeting with tremendous success on deer, white-tailed deer, mule deer, hogs, wild hogs down in Texas and other places. And letters started pouring in, or phone calls to Berger and say, hey, you know, this thing really works good as a hunting bullet. We're being very effective with this. You ought to take a look at that. So the good folks at Berger, again, this is nearly 20 years ago, set up a field test, and they went out and they had people go hunt, and they took in, as I recall, something like 200 wild hogs, testing these bullets in various cartridges and seeing how they performed on game. Then, when they had that, they went ahead and they were satisfied with those results. They were impressed with those results on what they had designed as a long-range target bullet. So it did well on game, according to hunters who told Berger about it, and then Berger did field testing, and then Berger got in contact with some of the gun writers at the time who came up with some very interesting articles and books and started talking about how well these things were working for them. It kind of grew from the bottom up instead of from management down. Nobody designed this as a hunting bullet, but they found out that it works as a hunting bullet. Since those days, Berger has still got the VLDs, and they've got their classic hybrid hunter, and they've got their elite hunter, which is a bullet that I've taken up using quite a bit, and so have some of my friends. It's working out really well for them. The VLD is a very good bullet, and I used it on several mule deer back in the past there. But to make one that would shoot more easily, they went with both their classic hybrid hunter and their elite hunter. The elite hunter, there was a hybrid target bullet, and Berger basically took that hybrid target bullet, made it with a thinner jacket for better expansion, and that became the elite hunter. So roughly the same bullet design, just a little thinner jacket. And they have become pretty widely accepted as a hunting bullet. Some people still think of them as just a match bullet. We'll get into that. Things about this bullet. It's designed for long-range performance. It has a very high BC compared to other more traditional hunting bullets in whatever cartridge or whatever caliber you're talking about. It's got that long tapered boat tail rear end. It's got a long tapered ogive, and in the case of the Elite Hunter, it's a combination of both a tangent ogive and a secant ogive, and you're getting the best of both worlds. You know, that long point out there that works really well for setting up a high BC bullet that gives you all the good attributes of a high ballistic coefficient, and it's got that tangent ogive, which makes it easier to tune to the rifle. In fact, they offer it in factory ammo, and it works really well from most of the guns in that particular cartridge. Small meplat, or meplat, however you want to say it, with a hollow point on it, and it was not designed to expand, and guess what? The first 2 or 3 inches, it doesn't. I have found on my own game animals, when I shoot them with a Berger, I almost can't find the entrance wound. And that's really interesting, because once you go in there and you're cleaning your animal, then you find where it expanded, and that is in the vitals, in the heart, lungs area, and the big blood vessels, and that stuff is usually pretty well taken care of. Pretty well taken care of. Do not expect to find a great big beautifully mushroomed bullet. Take a look at some of the bullets I've used here lately, and we've even had on the channel, and they have an incredible beautiful mushroom, and they retain a lot of weight, and that's pretty cool. Don't expect that out of a Berger. They tend to leave a small mangled chunk of copper and lead is about all that's left. They shed a lot of weight, they tear up a lot of tissue, and that usually results in very, very quick death. I kind of like that. I like the animal dropping on the spot. As far as hunter success, well, I know that Richard Mann and John Barsness wrote about it nearly 20 years ago, back in '05, and I've got a first edition here on this Rifle Bullets for the Hunter. Excellent book if you can find one. There's all kinds of good stuff in there about various rifle bullets, including the Berger. And the Berger was pretty new on the market as far as a hunting bullet at that time. That's a heck of a book if you can find one. By '08, I was using them, and I got myself 2 mule deer in '08. I got 1 doe out at about 400 yards. I had a tag for that, and then I also had a buck tag at about 230 yards, and both of them were just boom, boom, shot, instant drop, no tracking involved whatsoever, and very impressive on that. Then I just put them away for a while. Why did I put them away? Not that I wasn't happy with them. I'm curious about bullets. I moved on to other bullets to give them a try. That's literally all it was. I kept the Bergers that I had on hand, and I moved on to doing some other stuff, and then a couple of years ago, Gavin handed me a box of these 30 caliber Elite Hunters, 180 grain. I loaded those up in my 30-06, and with basically no load development, I put together something that I thought would work well, took it out to the range, sighted it in, it worked well, got a 350-yard shot at a mule deer, down and done here in Washington State, up in Okanogan County, and that worked out pretty doggone well too. So I was impressed with that. And I thought, okay, well, that was a couple years ago. Why don't I go ahead and load up some Bergers for hunting again this year? And I do have a rifle that's new to me. I did hunt with it last year in a different stock. This is a pretty wild looking stock, but it does help me shoot better, and that's kind of cool. So it's a nice adjustable Boyd's stock, and okay, it looks pretty unconventional, but I kind of like it. I might be hunting with it in a different stock comes hunting season, something a little more muted and subdued. So in addition to my success with my 25-06 and 30-06 and some Berger bullets, just last year in 2023, Gavin went to South Africa and hunted with our friend Pete. And he used a 6.5 Sherman Short, which is an interesting cartridge, and the 156 grain EOL, Extreme Outer Limits, Berger Elite Hunter. That's a fairly powerful cartridge, and it can handle that heavier bullet just fine, taking advantage of the longer, heavier bullets, enhanced BC, very high BC on that bullet. He had tremendous success, and it was interesting to me because he didn't just limit himself to deer-size animals, which is all I've taken so far, is just mule deer with my Berger bullets. But he went on for kudu at a rather long range, I believe 680 yards for that, and then gemsbuck, and both of those are roughly elk-size animals, and he took them down very handily. So that was impressive. I also saw some stuff that Pete has done with it, And went ahead and had a phone call with him to talk a little bit about why he uses the Bergers so much when he could be hunting with pretty much any bullet he wants over there in Africa.
Guy, what's up?
Hey Pete, glad to hear from you. I just wanted to ask you some questions about why you choose Berger bullets for so much of your hunting.
So obviously I come from a competition shooting background, and I kind of just wanted a bullet that can offer me almost identical specs to what I'm shooting in my match rounds. So what I found is in the Berger range, like for example, if I'm shooting in my dasher, the 109 grain long range hybrid target,
right.
If I switch to that 108 grain bullet, I can basically shoot the exact same load and have basically similar performance. I kind of have my dope in my head because I shoot it a lot. And that kind of works for me really well, just having sort of a similar recipe. And in fact, the BC on these are so close that I'm strongly considering just kind of shooting matches with hunting bullets.
Okay, and how about their performance on game though?
I've got a truckload of animals that don't argue with the performance of the Berger bullets.
Well, thank you very much, Pete. Is there anything else you can add to it about why we ought to hunt with Bergers?
I think we kind of covered. All I wanted to add is that you guys should all like and subscribe to Impact Shooting on YouTube too.
Of course. So the conversation with Pete was really pretty interesting, and I did want to find out why over there in Africa land he was using the Berger bullets for his hunting, and he explained it pretty well. It looks to me like he wants the accuracy and the consistency and the ability to go from shooting matches to shooting in the field without making any mental adjustments about what it is that he's doing, what the trajectory is like now, what the wind drift is like, what kind of accuracy he can expect. And so that's pretty neat. I think those are all really good reasons for using the same or very, very similar bullets all the time. This time around, I get to use lots of different guns now. I used to hunt with 2 only, and I'm using lots of different guns. And I've got this 6.5 Creed, which is very, very popular with today's hunters for a lot of interesting reasons. And there's a lot of myths about it. Just like the Berger bullets, there's a lot of myths about the Creedmoor and a lot of controversy about it. And I don't think it should be. It's a fine cartridge. It is not a 300 Win mag, okay? It is not anything like that. I think of it in terms of being a 308 with a lighter, more streamlined bullet. That's kind of the way I like it. The 308 is pretty gentle on the shooter. 6.5 is very gentle on the shooter. Both have great accuracy potential. And honestly, as far as the ballistics of it go, the 6.5 Creed is kind of continuing on with the ballistics that were set up by the old 6.5 Swedish Mauser, it's usually known as, that's been out there for over 100 years doing its thing in the hunting fields. A mild recoiling, accurate, and lethal hunting round. So really there's not a lot new about the ballistics on the 6.5 Creed. It's kind of the package it's in and how accurate it is right out of the factory. Most of the rifles that are built for it shoot really, really well. They don't even have to be extremely expensive rifles. There's some nice low-end rifles that, boy, you go buy the 6.5 Creed, put the factory ammo in there and sight it in and go shoot and go hunt with it. And it's amazing what it can do for you. I hunted with it last year, however, I did not even get a shot at a muley. We had a couple problems on that hunt and I had to cut it short. So let's take a look at this bullet that I selected this time, the 140 grain Elite Hunter. And the reason that I chose that is I think that 140 is about optimal for the 6.5 Creed. You can get enough velocity to get good, decent trajectory and some good speed down range, which is really important. That way you keep your velocity up pretty good for good impact speeds and good results on game out there at 300, 400, 500 yards away if you need to. So the 140 is kind of, in my idea, pretty much the optimal bullet weight for a cup and core, lead core, jacketed bullet for the 6.5 Creed. It has an exceptionally high BC of G1 BC of .606. My head is all in G1 figures. I know the G7 figures apply, and but that 606 is way up there. The highest one that I could find is .679, and the lowest was .381. When we go to the G7, it looks like it's a .31, which again is on the high side. The lowest I found was .288 in the G7s, and the highest was .347. So we're kind of right there in the middle on that. It does require a 1 in 8 twist. So if you don't have a Creed or some other barrel that's twisted at least 1 in 8 or faster, this is probably not going to be the bullet for you. However, a lot of 6.5s do have nice, high, fast twist rates. Hand-loaded these, and I got to admit, I spoiled myself here. I went first class to some really nice components. I used Lopwa cases with the large rifle primer. I like that for my hunting loads because we hunt in some extreme weather out here. Hunters all over the place hunt some extreme weather, and I like the reliability of the large rifle primer for igniting the powder even in very, very cold temperatures. I went with a Federal 210 match primer. That's been a favorite of mine for years and years. It's done a fine job for me with my 308 match loads, and I also have used it in some of my hunting loads. Went with Vitavori's N555 powder. That powder is extremely good in the Creedmoors, and it was actually kind of developed for them. 43.5 grains, 43.5 grains, which is 1/10 of a grain over what was in max. And I just kind of did that just because I did it, frankly. I thought that the 43.4 would have been just fine too, but bumped it up just a tad. And that's the load I went with. So we shot over the chronograph, and we got some pretty good results there. 2,721 feet per second. I guessed it'd be somewhere between 2,700 and 2,750. That worked out. Extreme spread of only 26 feet per second, and a standard deviation of 9. That was just for a single group of 5 shots. Okay, nice, easy shooting, and in some pretty warm weather. It got up over 100 degrees when we were at the range that day. And so if I take a look at this bullet for the trajectory of it, comparing it to another really popular, very good hunting bullet, also 140 grains, and you see that really 0 to 200 yards, there's not much practical difference. At 100 yards, they're very comparable. The other bullet with its G1 BC of .49 is 2 inches high. We're 1.9 inches high with the Elite Hunter, almost the same. And then at 300, we're at 7.9 with the Elite Hunter for drop, and the other bullet with a .49 BC is dropped about 8 inches, 8.3. Out at 400, again, there's hardly any difference, about 2 inches difference is all. And again, even at 5, there's not a lot. There's starting to be a little bit more. Where you find the big advantage of these high BC bullets is at farther and farther ranges. And frankly, I don't shoot game out that far, so I'm good to go with that. Velocity comparison, there's more of a difference, and this is interesting because we take a look all the way across there, and let's take a look here particularly at the 400 and 500 yard figures. Interestingly, the .49 BC bullet at 400 yards is just over 2,000 feet per second. That's where the Elite Hunter is at 500 yards. So basically we've got the impact velocity extended out another 100 yards because it's nice and pointy and has that high BC. Bullets start out the same speed. The other bullet lost its velocity faster, even though it's not bad. It did fine, but we've got a difference at 400 yards and 500 yards by going to the Berger with its high BC. Shooting results out there yesterday at the range. It was hot, but that's okay. Didn't mind that at all, and it's actually kind of a nice test because I wanted to see, all right, I'm shooting a load that's at max level or maybe even a little tiny bit over max level, and on a really hot day, and that could be a bad combination. However, I take a look at my brass afterwards, and it shows absolutely no problems. Primer's a little flat, but they're a little flat on most of my loads anyway. So brass looks good, and I'll be able to reload this several more times, no problem. Recoil, typical 6.5 Creed, very mild. Part of that is the muzzle brake on the end of the rifle that Berger puts out there, which is really sweet of them. It cuts an awful lot of the recoil anyway, and it's not like the 6.5 Creed is a hard kicker. So it's very, very mild recoil. Accurate. I had to tune myself up a little bit. We take a look at the groups I put there on paper, and I had my first couple groups were kind of shaky. I don't know why. I don't think I was focusing enough. So I tightened down on the nut behind the trigger, if you want to say that. And I got myself a couple of very, very nice groups, and one is barely over a ½ inch, so I kind of like that. They're just 3-shot groups, but honestly, that's about all I expect from me. I really have a hard time focusing and maintaining that precision shooting for 5, 10, 15 shots. So 3 is pretty good for me. I can shoot 5, I will, but for right now we did 3. These are the reasons why I'm using this Berger Elite Hunter this year, because I used it a couple of years ago and took a nice muley with my 30-06. And what I want to know is, are you using any of the Bergers for your hunting? And how's that working out for you? I'd really like to get the feedback and see if you're getting the good accuracy that I'm seeing if you're getting the good results on game that I'm seeing, and drop a comment. We'll have a discussion. I mean, it's time to wrap this up.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.